Alright, alright, alright. Yeah. So I say alright, alright, alright. Was a bit loud. So I called this video A Cloud of Birds. And it was my feeling that said, this video ought to be called A Cloud of Birds. And for some reason I had a cloud of birds in my mind. I had to think of several things. First of all, I always have to think of the flock. And when I think of the flock, I have to think of the mob, which to me is the mindless. You know, it's like mobbing. It's a bunch of people that are inconsiderate and that just jump on whoever it is they wanted to jump on. The mob also to me is this really stupid, unconscious, dumb conglomerate of humans that just follow the masses. That literally is this lemming mentality, yeah? Although that doesn't really exist, lemmings never commit suicide, by the way. I think it was proven that Disney chased lemmings down a cliff for their video. Right, but it's, you know, somebody does something and suddenly everybody thinks, oh wow, maybe I should do that as well. If only enough people have an electric scooter, while at first nobody really wanted it, but if they continue seeing it because people do buy it, then suddenly people say, oh wow, maybe I do want an electric scooter after all. What people fail to see is how stupid and bored the people on those electric scooters look. While if you would be driving around on a normal scooter, you would realize, wow, I mean a scooter that you have to actually move with your own 2 feet, with your legs, with your own power. You would realize that not only is it great fun to propel yourself from A to B, that the scooter is also light enough that you can actually also jump over the boundaries or borders of pedestrian walks or whatever obstacle you can jump over with these things. You would also realize that using such a scooter to go from A to B actually makes you stronger. While all an electric scooter does is make you weak. And so when I say the mob, I cannot help it, but there's a bit of loathing in that word for me, right? There's a little bit of hatred sprinkled on top of it, like a crust of cheese or something. And the reason it is there is more or less simple. The reason this crust of hatred is on top of the word mob is because, yeah, I mean, say it, I fucking hate it. I fucking hate the mob, because the mob is where everybody stands around and just says, spirituality is just about esoteric nonsense. You know, the only real thing is my car. The only real thing is my thumb. The only real thing is this desk. But this is such an on-the-surface observation, which just could, like, it just shows the person has never looked at what's really going on. They have never dived into consciousness or into mind or into themselves. And that's why everything they say and do just happens on the basic surface of life. And that's the same people that just get solar panels because they think, oh, if I get solar panels, I'm gonna look really good because I'm gonna save the planet. And then they're gonna sit at home and they're gonna turn on their hot water and have a shower. And they're going to charge their phones or watch TV, and they're gonna think, oh, the sun is powering my energy. I'm so much better than everyone else. Plus, I'm saving money with this. That's like the pinnacle of stupidity. Because the industry sold them solar panels as the new thing, right? If we all do this, climate change is going to be averted. Yeah, that's the bullshit people have told themselves. It's just like, yeah, if everybody would have an electric car, we wouldn't have problems with climate change at all anymore. So we can reach the 2 degrees Celsius goal or something, right? First of all, these goals are just things they make up so that stupid people can buy the products that the industry wants to sell them. So they sell them electric cars. And stupid people buy them. They don't realize that maybe now it's cheaper to have one. But once everybody has one, or enough people, energy's gonna rise. The prices are going to go up. And then they wish they would have never bought one. But the other thing is that fossil fuels are also terrible because they make the air toxic. And they turn nature into a swamp. Because the swamp is basically our own emotional shit. Our laziness, our pride, our greed. Just look at these images. For me, it's like real beauty, right? I'm the one that created them. But I took them from nature and from the world that I see, and then I did something with it, right? I played around with them. You could say I applied methods to them, and in the end they looked like this. I didn't take a paintbrush or anything. I used Darktable to make these images. Anyway, the point is, I'm trying to get to that electricity is terrible inefficient. It's terribly inefficient, yeah? It's really, yeah, I'm just saying that for anything who thinks that grammar is important at all, right? Because sometimes people that don't know the language say smarter things than people who know the language. But if you're an idiot, then you're gonna say, what are you even saying? You're making a mistake, I can't hear you. Right? It's like people are trying to catch you at anything. When you stand around and you're trying to speak the truth, and then there is a spelling mistake, or you say something wrong, they're gonna pick on that. Yeah, the best thing you can do is pick on it yourself first. And then you say, pick on it, right? Because you realize, oh, you slipped on that word, and then you're just making fun of it yourself. Not even fun. You just enjoy speaking. Because there is a way to enjoy speaking. But that only works if people stop correcting each other. Because there are people that can literally speak well. Because they've practiced speaking. I have been speaking for hours. Days even. Hundreds of hours have I spoken into the microphone. Hundreds of hours have I spoken into the microphone. And so I can speak well. Now, the people who buy electric cars never once thought about it, whether or not electric cars are actually a smart way into the future. All they buy is they just suck it up. Yeah? The bullshit the state is selling them. Yeah, there is climate change, and the reason is because we produce CO2 with cars. So what you really should do is buy an electric car, because then you emit less CO2. You see how selfish this is? It's like, then you emit less CO2. Which means, oh wow, now I can feel really good about driving because now I don't emit CO2. You can feel it when people drive around in their electric cars, they feel really good. They emit this kind of energy like a goody two-shoes, you know? Oh yeah, you see what I'm driving? I'm driving an electric car, you know? I'm way ahead of you. Because you're still walking, or you're still driving on fossil fuels while I'm saving the planet. Well, have you ever thought about the substances that are inside the battery of your car? How toxic they are? That's like the shit they have to get rid of from a nuclear power plant. This stuff is really hazardous. And the same thing goes for solar panels. This stuff isn't whatever green is. And whatever we say, but it's not the energy of the sun. Because the energy of the sun basically is inside of me. But not inside the car. Because inside the car then is electricity. And that's a distortion of the truth. It's not really pure energy anymore. Because it went through toxic processes and then it became something else. Right? That's sorcery for you. That's manipulation. Yeah, that's some kind of really bad mojo. That's whatever you want to call it. But it certainly isn't good. It certainly isn't a solution. It's just another problem. Only to us, it looks like a clean thing. Yeah, sure, I mean, if I see the car, the electric car driving around and it drives past me, I don't have to inhale toxins. But the problem is also that this makes me forget that there are still toxins. Only now they're out of sight. It's like, oh yeah, let's brush them under the carpet. And what's the carpet? The countries that we mark as third world countries. Because we exploit them and we deny them different wages. So in order for you to drive a car with an electric engine, and for you to have a smartphone, there is a person somewhere in those countries that has to go into a mine and dig out with his own hands the material that is necessary for this. And then you can say, well, you know, it's his own choice that he does that. Yeah, if you would live in such a country and the whole economy is down the drain and nobody really wants to produce anything anymore because large corporations have taken over the country and they're milking it dry, literally milking it dry, and they're destroying all the natural resources, then what do? Do you survive or do you die? Well, most people are just gonna do what everybody else does, because they too have people that are like the mob. Because what does the mob do? The mob just reacts on fear. And as soon as fear shows its little fangs, they just run around. It's like, ah, ah. Yeah, so they run around to their couches and their sofas. And that's where they cling to. It's like, oh, please keep me safe. Oh, here at home I'm safe. You know, if I would just barge into your living room, even if the only thing I would want to tell you is, you have to get off your couch because it's really unhealthy, man, they would call the police because that's how afraid they are. And they would feel even righteous about it. And then I would explain to them, but I saw them, I mean, they're just sitting there and their backs, they're like really weak and broken. I mean, they're not even alive anymore. You would barge into their homes and you would try to tell them this. Please, come back to the world, come back to life. Get up from your chair, start moving. They would say, what are you doing? It's my right to sit here. You know, it's like, what? And they would literally shit their pants. If I would suddenly stand in your living room, in your little place, in your little, you know, here I'm perfect. Yeah, you would shit your pants. I don't need a machete to scare you because you're already afraid. Because your happiness is just a facade. Imagine from one day to the next, we would have no electricity anymore. That means no internet. People would go bonkers. I would love for this to happen. I would love for this to happen. For the whole internet to just break down. And all the electricity to be simply gone. People would shit their pants. They wouldn't know how to live anymore. And that would probably take, let's see, all electric devices just stopped working from one day to the next. How long would it take for humanity to come back to their senses? And let's say they would never work again. Let's say no matter how hard they tried, they just wouldn't manage to get machines to work anymore. If I would have that kind of power, I would make it a reality. I would do this and I would chuckle into myself and say, thank you. Now you have to face truth because you're all fat and you're all lazy. And now heating doesn't work anymore, so you'll be cold. And probably in a very short period of time, all the weak ones would just die, and they would be all gone. And all the people who pride themselves to be money, because now it's worthless. You can't get money anymore. Why can't you get money? Because money is digital. Money doesn't exist. So yeah, probably people would just take something that they thought was valuable and then try to exchange it, but for what? Who's gonna produce all the food now? Because we don't know how to do agriculture anymore, because machines do it for us. So the amount of food that we've been harvesting, we just couldn't harvest it anymore. So if you don't know how to fast, because you're super dependent on food, you're screwed. Where are you gonna get your water from if the pumps ain't working? Where are you going to get the water from? And now you're gonna think, damn it. Am I not supposed to drink 3 liters of water each day? You know, now I'm gonna die of thirst. And if you believe in it, sure you're gonna die, man. So you see, I'm superior to all of you. Because if this shit show goes down the drain, I'm just gonna take my shit and walk into the forest and start living again. Because now the police can't get there anymore. Now if I would go into the forest and make a fire, nobody would come. Okay, sure, I have to admit I'd probably have trouble making fire without a lighter. Because I've been a bit lazy learning that, because I thought, what's the point? What's the point if I can use a lighter or fire starters? Why should I go to great length to make a fire just like that, Yeah, sure, I should have learned it. And there's still time to learn it. And that's the point, right? It's not just, yeah, I'm a cripple. I sit on the couch every day. I cannot actually squat or stand or hike for hours and still feel good about it, right? Because my body is so fucked by sitting all the time that I'm just a weak lump. That just all the time, because I'm so used to sitting, all my body wants is to get back into the sitting position. So what you need is a strong will. Nobody I know has a strong will. I also have a weak will at times, but I know how to have a strong will. Sometimes I give in to certain things, right? Sometimes I just overeat, because I say right now what I want is to overeat. And then I do realize, okay, I feel a bit stuffed, yeah. I feel like it's a bit of overload. Yeah, and then I find days again where I find the strength to fast, and then I fast for a day. And then in the evening I come home and I stuff myself again. It's like, you could call it a vicious cycle, but I'm just stretching out boundaries. How much food do I need? When do I need food? What kind of food do I need? How much exercise can I do? Well, I can hike for 2 hours or 3 hours to the boulder hall, boulder for some hours, and then hike back. It's possible. And then I come back, and instead of just being miserable, what do? I take off the laundry because it's dry now. And then I walk to my apartment. And then I collapse. I didn't have to collapse, but I thought I had to, because in my mind, what I did was really hard. But it was the natural thing to do. You want to go and boulder? Well, go and boulder. You don't have a car. You just live like buses don't exist. So what do? You hike. That's how it used to be. Hiking. Yeah? I mean, people in Africa, where we say these countries are poor. Poor in terms of what? These countries are so rich of laughter, of dancing, of all the things that we here never do. I don't know anybody who laughs an honest laugh. When people laugh here, they only laugh about others, about stupid jokes. But in Africa, people laugh for the joy of life. They dance for the joy of life. They dance because they like dancing. Not because it looks fancy, but because their body wants to move. And when your body is so crippled that it cannot properly dance anymore, then you know you have work to do, my friend. And that work can only be done by you. Your fears can only be overcome by you. If you don't overcome your fears, nobody will. I don't give a shit if you keep running away from me. Whoever you are. Because what am I? You could say then in that instance I'm truth. And people really run away from me. There was a young boy, quite chubby. He was treating his dog really badly, and when he saw me coming down the street, he ran away. And his dog wouldn't move, so he kept pulling. He saw me and he was like, oh shit. And he just kept running. He didn't even know why. Well, I know why. Because I was looking at him. And I pinned him down and I said, I see what you're doing, man. I see this little shit inside of you. Because it's still your choice to be obese, even as a child. Nobody can say my parents did this to me. No, you're the one that's greedy. You're the one that stuffs himself with food and is fat. That's your choice. Not all children are fat. You have children that are born into a family with maybe fat parents. Doesn't mean the child has to be fat. It's your choice. If you eat too much, you're gonna be fat. Some people get fat because they actually drink too much. We also eat too much salt. You know, I don't really get fat because I transform all the energy into something else. I may eat a lot at times because I simply like eating to a certain degree. But I also use that energy speaking. I find sometimes strenuous. It takes up a lot of energy. I think a lot, I contemplate a lot, I reflect a lot. That's what I do all the time. I'm constantly busy with something. So I go from one thing to another to the next. And then when somebody comes and tells me, oh wow, solar panels, it's the energy of the sun, or drive an electric car, you're driving on sun energy, then I have to say no. You're driving on the same shit that fires this society into oblivion. And that's lies, and that's greed, and that's fear. And that's laziness. Yeah, and that's hatred for life. Because who needs a car to carry groceries? So if you are unaware of where the energy comes from, how the places look like that supply the resources for your car, that's so good now. Then you're just ignorant, then you're an idiot. And then I would say you're part of the mob. And when you know where it's coming from, because everybody knows it deep down what a lie is, they just choose to worship the lie. And when that's the case, no wonder you're all running away from me. No wonder you're all running away from me. From the truth about who you really are, how you really feel. But I can't take no shit no more from you. Because you have to take care of your own shit now. Well, if that's gonna give you cancer, then that's your choice. Your ignorance is giving you cancer. Because you never wanted to learn. You never wanted to change. You just hold on to everything that ever came to you. Every feeling you ever had. It's like, it's my anger. It's my fear. It's a phobia. I like being afraid. Yeah. I like being courageous. I like scaring people who are stupid and ignorant, because that may scare some sense into them. Because what people are really lacking is something that would really scare them.